Hello Leila, you just came back from Lebanon and we would like to have some inside views from you. We recently had presidential elections in Lebanon, so what is the status quo?
Well, I just came back myself from Lebanon around a week ago, and on Wednesday we had the second parliamentary session on presidential elections. What happened was that session did not take place because there was a lack of quorum inside the parliament. Not all MPs attended, which is the majority that we needed, 2/3 of the parliament. What was happening actually the first session, we had one non-presidential candidate who's Samir Jaja. He's the head of Lebanese forces, a former militia that took part in the Lebanese civil war. Not all parties were pro him. They didn't want to vote for him. So what happened was he only got 48 votes rather than 86 votes in the parliament, which is the 2/3 of the parliament, knowing that the Lebanese parliament is 128 MPs. For the second session, so that's why we had the first session, it was a failure, nobody was elected. We moved on to the second session, and in the second sessions to come, according to the constitution, you need a simple majority, which is half plus one. So now we're basically talking about half the 128 MPs, and since we don't have any sessions anymore because there was a lack of quorum, we don't have any presidents. So basically we're at a status quo now.
Lebanon is also in the news, unfortunately, because of the influx, the mass influx of Syrian refugees, especially at the eastern border. Do you see that the refugee situation is getting worse, stabilizing, or better?
Well, as you know, basically, according to recent United Nations numbers, the number of refugees in Lebanon exceeded 1 million, and that's almost close to 1/3 of the Lebanese population. However, according to ESQA, the Economic Social Commission for West Asia, on estimates, they expect in 2014 that the number of Syrian refugees in Lebanon would increase up to 2.4 million. The thing is, even with the deceleration of the crisis in Syria, I've noticed that the number of refugees is still increasing rather than decreasing. People are not packing and going back. One, mainly because they don't trust that the rebels or the terrorists or even the government are basically maintaining the safety and security of people in the areas that they control.
There's also a big burden for the economy. What is the GDP forecast, gross domestic product, for Lebanon in 2014?
Well, as you know, basically since the Syrian crisis started and we had an influx of Syrian refugees in Lebanon, the Lebanese economy has lost so far between 8 to 10 or 11 billion dollars. That's according to studies, estimates, and analysts, and the World Bank as well. What's sad about it is that the continued influx of Syrian refugees is affecting the Lebanese economy more and more. We do have a really higher number of unemployment, which is exceeding 10%, and we do have a GDP that has decreased significantly so far. After we had positive forecasts in 2010 and 2009 that we might have 7% increase, now we're down to estimates of 1.5% GDP growth in 2014 according to the World Bank.
How do GCC investors behave? Normally Gulf Arab investors were quite active in Beirut, they bought property, they invested even in stock markets. What is the situation now?
Well, I've noticed that most of the foreign investors, GCC investors, and even local investors are now shy from investing in the country. Whoever had future plans to invest or bring their money in, they're freezing their decision at the moment until they have a clear situation. One, regarding the presidential elections. Two, regarding the Syrian crisis, which is affecting Lebanon indirectly.
What about the oil and gas plants in the offshore of Beirut, offshore of Lebanon? Can Lebanon become a second Kuwait by exploring oil and gas and exporting it?
Well, according to studies and Ministry of Energy, basically Lebanon has an abundant wealth of gas and oil in its offshore plateau. However, we do have lots of economic, political, and even sectarian problems that are hindering these matters. On the security level, we do have conflicts with Israel, and you know the largest plateau of oil and gas in Lebanon basically is in southern Lebanon, southern shores, and that coincides with the Palestinian side as well and the Israeli side. So there's a conflict between both countries. I highly doubt that any of them would allow the other to explore for gas over there and oil as well. On the political side and the economic side, we do have conflicts between the MPs, between leaders of the parties in Lebanon, as well as we don't have a president yet, and the president is the head of the executive power. So basically, until we have a stability in political system, and we have a stability in our neighboring country, and we have some sort of a truce that's long enough, we can't go and drill for oil. This is how I see it.
Going back to your point in the south, the conflict between Lebanon and Israel, do you see the danger of an escalation? The volatile border situation is not really good and to be optimistic.
Well, the way I see the situation over there, the Israelis have been increasing their troops across the Lebanese and Syrian southern borders. And it reminds me a lot of the same scenario back in 2006. The Israeli military was increasing its presence on the southern Lebanese front, and shortly afterwards they just needed one excuse to just go inside the country. I don't know what they're planning this time, but there's an influx of Israeli military on the southern Lebanese and Syrian borders.
Lebanon, nevertheless, has always come stronger from crisis in the past. What is the secret of Lebanon's success and of the Lebanese people?
Well, we do cope very well. We have the experience. We have had lots of crises in the past, so I have to repeat that, huh?
No, this is fine.
Nice birds. Well, Lebanon had lots of crises in the past, so I think we do have the experience to cope with any crisis and find a way or a gap in the system just to go on and make it through. I mean, we're a country that actually loves to live rather than just like crumble on itself and die.
Leila Hatoum, thank you very much indeed for the interview, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.